morning once again to all our attendees, panelists, and speakers. Thank you once again to Tavonia Evans for giving us a fantastic opening to the session that we've already had. I would like to now invite the panelists of our first official session, which shall be talking about the future of fintech ecosystems in Africa, to please begin turning on their cameras and their audios. Our phenomenal host, who will introduce himself and give us more detail on his amazing role that he plays, shall be Mr. Babatunde Ibrahim, who will give us more details on his role and also talk more about the panel. With those few remarks, I'd like to hand over to the panelists themselves to take it away and be our first phenomenal session of today's conference. Thank you once again to everyone who has already joined us for the first ever Central Bank Digital Currency Africa Focused Conference. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this panel session, speaking on looking at the future of fintech ecosystem in Africa. I mean, there's no doubt that fintech has played a major role in the financial system in Africa, especially with financial inclusion. I mean, we're not yet at destination, so there's still a lot of work to be done. So this panel will be looking at fintech, what has happened so far and what the future is going to look like. My name is Babatunde Ibrahim. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for FINTECH Association of Nigeria. FINTECH Association of Nigeria is actually an ecosystem. It has about 15 different sectors in this association with a membership of about 191 organizations. And we're driven by 3 objectives. The first is to connect, bring everybody within the technological space together to accelerate technological growth and to advocate. I mean, the first 2 are useless if there are no progressive regulatory reforms to support creativity and innovation. So regulation is important. The financial system is as stable as the regulations that govern it. But then what should be regulated? Whatever should be regulated should support creativity, should support innovation. So with that, I'd like to welcome all of you to today's session. Like all my panelists, they'll be introducing themselves. So I'll start with the ladies. Morieda, can you introduce yourself and what you do?
Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Michelle and Global Policy House for creating this platform for Africans to voice their opinion about the digital revolution. I'm very proud of everyone on this panel, but also the collaborative effort that went into creating this. So I just wanted to share that first of all with the community. I'm Rita McKay and I'm the CEO of Stride. We are a global business innovation consultancy, and we specifically focus, our key focus right now is on supporting large corporates and governments with their digital transformation roadmaps and preparing them to be ready for the digital revolution that lies ahead of us. With that being said, part of what we do is we've just launched our Innovation Academy, and the idea is to strengthen the strategic thinking and the innovation capabilities of our leaders in Africa. And we have recognized that blockchain technology specifically is one of those transformational technologies that's going to be huge and pivotal to Africa. And we have subsequently started to build our own in-house blockchain capability. We are now a member of the Blockchain Research Institute, chaired by Don Tapscott in Canada, which is a global think tank around blockchain. Myself, I am a member of the Consensus Forum of the South African Blockchain Alliance. And so there's a lot happening within our own consultancy around building capability for Africa by Africans, which is what this theme is really about for this forum. Myself, I am an ex-EY consultant, and I have worked predominantly in banking and telco, and my background and experience is that of a innovator and transformation professional. That's me.
Thank you, Murieta. Afwai, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ifwa Kwanting, Managing Partner of Kwanting and Kwanting Legal Advisors, which is a corporate commercial law firm in Ghana, Accra. Kwanting and Kwanting provides legal advisory services to its clients, and one of our niche practice areas is technology, telecoms, and telecoms infrastructure. I myself am coming from a telecoms infrastructure background, as I was previously the General Counsel for American Tower Corporation in Ghana for 7 years. And that sets up the telecom infrastructure, which really is the bedrock of FinTech all over the world. I'm here and I'm happy to be part of this team and look forward to having a fruitful discussion. And thank you to the Global Policy House for including me in this session.
Thank you, Afua. Noai, please introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name is Noah Balesambu. I am a co-founder of an organization called Crypto Savannah. Crypto Savannah is we believe in catalyzing digital transformation in businesses, in governments, and in development organizations. We have a focus particularly in blockchain, but we do have experience in building exchanges and deploying blockchains across governments and private organizations. On top of our blockchain developer work, we also do trainings, and so we have an education arm that trains right from understanding the basics of blockchain and how it can be applied in different verticals to training developers, and we're partnered with the likes of Consensus, Cardano, IBM in being able to train blockchain developers. And then also we have our an event that we have been hosting for the last 2 years, except this one. So 2018, we hosted the Africa Blockchain Conference, which is the largest of its kind that brings policymakers, industry participants, and the general public to understand more about blockchain. And we did it in 2018 with representation from over 32 countries, the same in 2019. Other than that, we are also founding members of the Blockchain Association of Uganda, and we also work closely with our sister blockchain associations around East Africa to be able to build a cohesive, vibrant blockchain economy, blockchain and crypto economy across the continent. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and thank you for hosting us in this interesting conversation.
Thank you. Now, Victor, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Victor Mapunga. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FlexID. FlexID is a digital identity wallet. And what we're trying to do is to really go back to the first principles around the use cases of blockchain and how it can actually impact lives across Africa. So over 400 million people still don't have access to financial services. And part of the reason is a lack of interoperable identity infrastructure. So most individuals cannot even prove who they are, where they live, if they want to open a bank account or engage in any other financial activity. So what our platform allows them to do is to create a self-sovereign identity wallet, which allows them to receive credentials and share those credentials with third-party institutions. They can access their identity through WhatsApp, through USSD, or through our self-sovereign identity application. So we started about over 2 years ago, and we've had phenomenal progress to date, working and building on top of the Algorand blockchain, which again is a very powerful blockchain too, especially in financial service sector, creation of CBDCs, tokenization, etc. So pretty excited to be here and share what our insights are around how identity can play a part in CBDCs. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Modibe, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matsipani I am the Paxful Africa Community Coordinator, and Paxful is a people-powered marketplace for money transfers, which people can do from any part of the world with whoever they want. What I mean by that is it's a place where people are able to move their money around for many reasons, and all of that is powered by cryptocurrency. So if you know of someone who thinks that cryptocurrency is a scam, it is probably because they have not experienced a real use case with cryptocurrency. And as Paxful, we allow people to do that. Things which truly matter, such as remittance, cross-border payments, wealth preservation, and a few other things. And what people do are able to build a business on Paxful. You can do business with people in Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, China. Literally anyone who can access the internet, you can do business with them through Paxful. Could be settling bills in other countries. And we have recently added Tether on the platform, which allows people who are not, looking at basically only using Bitcoin, but are looking for a way to store the value of their currency and not experience inflation. So you can do that on Paxful. And we do a lot of community building across Africa, be it building of schools, which we have built for so far. The aim is to build 100. One is being built in Nigeria right now, and education around blockchain as well as cryptocurrency, basically to have people understand what this exponential technology can do. As Victor has said, they are building strong identity on the blockchain. So these are the things which we need to have young people understand, and truly understand that there is blockchain and then there's a cryptocurrency. All of these are powerful tools which we can use to empower Africa. And this time around, we're not going to be the spectators. We are definitely going to be the active players that we have started already. And I invite all the other young people out there who are still skeptical of this technology. Please take your time, learn, ask us questions on this panel, and let's see what we can do to build the Africa that we want. And the panelists, it's a pleasure to be with all of you here. You are trailblazers in your own fields, and the FinTech Association of Nigeria for gracing us with their presence, global policy house. Thank you very much, guys, for the work, as well as the media partners, Coin News, etc. I'm looking forward to an exciting session. That's it from my side. Let's talk more, ask questions in the chat, and we can connect on LinkedIn as well as Twitter if need be.
Okay, thank you, Modibe. So, Morieta, you've had consulting background. So, what will you say has been the role of FinTech so far, the FinTech ecosystem in the financial services in Africa?
Can you just repeat, please?
I said, how do you assess the role of FinTech ecosystem in the financial system in Africa so far?
So far, I think the role of FinTech is critical when it comes to financial services. It's critical to the point that it is going to be pivotal for incumbents to transform, and the FinTech becomes that pivotal part. At this point in time, if we want to transform our economy into a digital economy, our incumbents are not necessarily geared to do that by themselves for various reasons, partly because of legacy systems, and partly because of the mere fact that they're not necessarily agile and not necessarily the experts in technology. So with the FinTech, they bring the IP and the insights and the expertise from a technology perspective, where incumbents at this stage, they more focus on how can they improve their existing businesses? How can they offer different products and services from a customer perspective? And it's probably very operational driven. And the FinTech is there to support and assist the incumbents to actually achieve their vision ultimately. So I do believe that FinTechs at this stage play a really pivotal role in transforming the entire financial services sector, because it is around technology, and the FinTechs bring the technology. That's my view.
Thank you, Marietta. Let me come to you, Victor. Victor, you had made mention of the issue of identity management. That is a major challenge across Africa. How can we deal with this problem? I mean, in Nigeria, we have similar problem. I mean, we even have lots of data in Nigeria. I will tell you, the election agency has data. The telcos have data, the banks have data, the identity agency has data, but we can't harmonize this data, and it's obviously has an effect on financial inclusion. So how do we solve this problem going into the future? Because it's critical for fintechs to be able to expand and to be able to make an impact for the future. How do we solve that?
All right, thank you. Those are actually very good insights. I think going back to first principles to look at why we are, it's not a lack of data, as you rightfully put, it's that the data is siloed across multiple databases owned by different institutions. These institutions are not interoperable because so far it's been far more profitable to lock up your customers and your users in one ecosystem such that they can't easily migrate to the next. So this is why it's frustrating that card, and they register the SIM card with the telecom company. When they want to register a bank account, they can't use the credentials from their telco company with the bank. They have to repeat the process for KYC verification, and it creates a lot of inefficiencies for government, for financial services, access to insurance, etc. It becomes problematic. So the solution to this is to have infrastructure that is, first of all, decentralized. So it cannot be a centralized entity. Secondly, it has to be interoperable. So multiple institutions need to participate. And lastly, it has to be user-centric. So the user has to be the focal point of this solution. This is why we found self-sovereign identity to be the best solution for this, because it puts the user in control of their data such that they can dictate with whom they want to share their information with, and with which services and organizations they want to access those platform offerings. So an example would be if you have a SIM card with your telco company and you have your Flex ID wallet or another SSI wallet, you'll be able to get your KYC credentials directly on your mobile device. Now, suppose you want to go to a microfinance organization and you want to borrow. The problem with a lot of those microfinance organizations is that they experience this problem of double borrowing, extreme default rates, because they're basically dealing with individuals that can falsify data. They can falsify who they are. By making sure that we're dealing with the blockchain, we eliminate any fraudulent behavior that currently arises with this centralized model. Because an individual, for example, cannot create their own verifiable credential. They have to get that verifiable credential from a trusted organization, like a telco company, like your BVN organizations, or like your bank or insurance company. Therefore, whenever they present those credentials to another party, that party can be rest assured that this indeed is a trusted and authenticated credential that this individual is presenting. So a multi-stakeholder engagement is necessary. It cannot be done by just one organization. Financial institutions, government, healthcare institutions, and even non-governmental organizations all need to participate to make sure that the solution reaches mass adoption Otherwise, the same people we are trying to help will not be able to have the full benefits of the solutions we propose.
Thank you, Victor. So if I hear you clearly, it's good to have, they can all have data, but you must work. It must not be idle data. There must be that interoperability amongst all the institutions to ensure that data makes sense and it's acceptable globally. So Noah, let's look at FinTech now. I mean, what are the opportunities for the FinTech ecosystem in Africa?
Thank you for that question. I think the opportunities are glaring us. They're looking at us, with glaring opportunity. I'll just give an example of East Africa, where I live, and we have seen the explosion of mobile money. And here, because of the previous points that have been shared, we didn't have great dependence on legacy systems. And as banks are sort of, I don't want to use the word elitist, but they're conserved in the access to who, previously, it was a very niche, group of people that could access a bank account because of all the data that is required. But then here we have the explosion of mobile technology. And then with the explosion of mobile technology, we see a widening gap between financial services and technology. And then brings automatic emergence of someone who brings the two. Hence, the opportunities in the word itself, FinTech. So you have these organizations that merge finance and technology and are able to have explosive growth, in an area that previously didn't exist. And so you have the example in Uganda, where I live, you have about 6 million bank accounts. But then you have, out of a population of 42 million, you have about 23 million mobile money accounts. And in a young population like ours, which is, where half the population is under 15, just by statistics, every adult has a mobile money number. Such penetration is unprecedented, and it's, it's because of the emergence of these fintechs. So the opportunity is great. Once there is value, then of course, we are seeing many of these organizations take advantage of that value that is created. When there is high mobility, the demand for high mobility, the demand for high speed, the demand for for convenience. I mean, in Uganda, we are seeing bank branches close down, especially with recent events like the lockdowns because of the pandemic. As we are opening up again, we are seeing bank branches saying, I don't need to go back to the branch. I can now offer my services purely on digital means. And so now we have that gray area that was created where telecoms want to become banks because of this opportunity, and then banks want to become tech companies. And I know many of the banks on the continent have a very strong pro-tech strategy. I know a number of them that are putting a lot of money in pivoting to become fintechs as a bank, because that's where the value lies. And so the opportunities are great. There are many opportunities around the identity piece, as Victor has mentioned, because as we as human beings demand more and more digital services, we're going to see more and more emergence of more and more services that consume our identity information. And again, these are businesses, so they have to get paid. And so we're going to see payment systems as the services become more digitized. And so the demand for digital cash is going to increase, which is one of the themes for this conference, and how the evolution of money leads us to where we are right now, where we're dealing with cryptos. We're talking about the full digitization of money, not the digitization of the communication of money like SWIFT. SWIFT is just a messaging system. It's not digital cash. At the end of the day, even Visa, once you swipe your card, that's just a message that tells the merchant that the money has been transferred, but the actual money moves days later. But now we are seeing the advent of purely digitally native money, where value is transferred immediately. it is real-time value realization. And so as more and more demand for digital services come up, we'll see this whole area of fintech take shape, and it's soon going to become the future of finance. Traditional banks as we know it today are going to completely change in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you, Noah. So Afua, the future of fintech ecosystem, what role do you think regulators have to play? You're a lawyer. The policies, how will that help to grow the fintech ecosystem? I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think regulation is definitely the bedrock of all of this. And in advising some of our fintech clients, we found in Ghana, for instance, where you have a situation where the legislation is quite broad. You've got a Payment Systems and Services Act that was passed in 2019. And that act sought to sort of consolidate all the previous legislations that came piecemeal along the way since 2000. And this legislation is supposed to try and define and regulate how payments are being made, especially with the eruption of mobile money and the amount of business that is generating in Ghana. It's phenomenal. And so the regulator, they need to play catch up. You pass legislation, and if you're very narrow in the definition, then the minute you have new technology come up, you are unable to deal with that. And so you'll have to, in an informal way, try to play catch up with these fintechs. So it's a touchy situation for the regulator. And I think they've been, from my discussions with certain regulatory officers, what they're trying to do is to create a sandbox. In Ghana in 2019, November, the Bank of Ghana has announced a sandbox to deal with central bank digital currency. And that would enable innovators to come up with new technology while at the same time being under the supervision of the regulator. So yes, my key points would be the regulation needs to be broad, but not too broad so that it's not useful, because you need to be able to catch certain specific payment systems and e-money providers in the industry. A client of mine, for instance, who's trying to use an app he's created to get loans for government sector workers using this app. And he's had to go through various regulators. He goes to one regulator and they tell him, oh no, you can't come under microcredit because you're trying to offer a short-term loan using an app. So you need to go back to the Bank of Ghana. And then he goes back to the Bank of Ghana, and there's also a void in there in an uncertain situation for them. So I think the key thing is for the regulators to be specific about what they're doing. Regulators need to also employ more technical savvy people to join.
Seems we lost Afua. Okay, let me come to Modibe. Modibe, so take Africa. In 2017, it says that about $200 million of investments came into the fintech space ecosystem. In 2018, it was 700 million, and in 2019, about $1 billion. Do you think that represents, we're a billion people in Africa. Do you think that that represents enough investment in the fintech space, and how do you see that? The investments in the fintech space for the investment ecosystem, fintech ecosystem in the future?
Thank you very much, Babatunde. I think, by simply speaking, you'd say it's a reasonable amount of money. But looking at where we are as a continent, you look at, there's a lot of things, basic things, infrastructure, which we do not have. So we might have that amount of funding coming into the startups and the products which they are building. But if you go back to where these products are going to be used and how they're going to be implemented, you find that there's still a lot of mismatch, whereby a lot still has to be done. Right now, we're talking of fintech, which would ideally function a lot on smartphones. And in most regions, those things are not available. Some people have got them, but a huge number of people who really, really need the innovative solutions provided by the fintech space, and most people are still lacking on that. So without speaking an essay, there is hope in terms of funding and the likes, but I believe that there's still a lot to be done. There's a lot that still has to be done to ensure that, as progressive as we are in building the products and these innovative solutions, we are able to take everyone with, empower people in terms of education, providing good internet infrastructure, learning facilities, and the likes. Because for IR is here, we're talking of blended learning and the likes, but people don't have the basic things needed to access this kind of information. Most of it is available on the internet, but the tools to get it are not readily available. So if we could see more funding come through to enable the entrepreneurs to be able to build good products, which will allow people to do many things, but at the same time, take it down to the ground level where it starts, education, as well as community-based programs to educate people about what we're really doing. Right now, we are in the crypto space. There's a lot of people who get scammed because they don't understand how it works. And that takes us, it's going to take us longer to onboard more people because the education is not there. The tools have been built, but then people who are supposed to be using them are scared of them because at first there was no education on how they work. Hence, I believe that the money is reasonable. From 2017 up to 2019, there is an encouraging growth in terms of funding. So we can definitely do more and focus more on the grassroots level. Thank you, Bautundi.
Okay, thank you, Modipe. I'm told that we're running out of time. So, Marietta, what advice will you give to young people who want to come into the fintech ecosystem?
I think for young people, for the youth of Africa, this is the ideal opportunity to become part of something that's going to be so huge in the future. If we look back in terms of the financial services sector, 20 years ago, and I'm just taking this from my own experience, I was part of the team that wrote the specification for South Africa's real-time gross settlement capability. It is now 20 years later, and for the very first time, we're actually rethinking what this new payment system should look like. And we actually have new capability via blockchain technology. We have new capability to actually modernize and recreate the future that we want for Africa by making it inclusive, but also making it digital. And the youth of not South Africa alone, the youth of Africa, they are actually going to be the people and the talent that is going to make it happen for Africa. So I would encourage every single young person in Africa to really upskill themselves and ensure that they don't stay behind. I think there's a lot of initiatives in terms of skills development, training, a lot of effort in terms of building entrepreneurial businesses, technology businesses. So I would really encourage youth to become part of the digital economy and make sure they are not left behind.
Okay, thank you. So this is a yes or no answer for everybody. Noah, do you think, this is a CBDC conference, do you think CBDC will play a major role in the future of fintech ecosystem in Africa? This is a yes or no answer.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Definitely.
Great, Victor.
Yes, yes, definitely, yes.
Modibe?
Yes.
Afua?
Definitely, yes.
So Afua, you take the last question. Last question is, what advice do you have for regulators, since you're a lawyer?
Well, I would say regulators should have
30 seconds.
Pardon me?
30 seconds.
Yes, provide clear regulation and clear policies. There should be availability of redress for when people have violations. There should be availability of reliable data. If we have reliable data across the countries, then your customer and KYC becomes easier. And more education. I think education in the digital and fintech space is key. The more people understand it, the more we are able to draw people into that space.
Okay, great. I guess we'll probably speak more as we take the Q&A. I can only see 2 questions there. Ashley, do you have any questions?
So the first question that's come from an audience member is, what would you say is the cost of having a fintech license here in Nigeria? And what does that mean on a multifaceted approach? Also, would like to invite all our attendees to please send in your questions for our phenomenal panel. They're here and happy to answer as many questions as you have. Thank you.
Okay, so since I'm the only one from Nigeria here, I will have to answer that. Now, there are various licenses in Nigeria, and the minimum is 50 million naira, which is a PSP license, and then it graduates all the way to 5 billion for a PSB bank license. I mean, what you probably call a challenger bank. So it depends on what kind of license that you're looking for. There have been lots of issues about if you're a young graduate, just coming out of university, where you're going to, you have a solution where you're going to get 50 million to pay for a license. And I think that's also part of why the central bank is setting up a sandbox. And we're hoping that with the sandbox, we'll be able to have, my own suggestion is, let's have a graduated payment system. So if I've gone through a sandbox and you like my solution, why don't you tie my license payment over time to the financial projections tied to that, to the delivery of that service? But I mean, it's those are suggestions, but the minimum license is 50 million, and it graduates depending on what you want: 50 million, 100 million, 1 billion, 2 billion, and 5 billion. So that's the license regime in Nigeria right now. If there are no other questions from the audience, maybe we should just keep talking about. We still have about 7 minutes. Good. So let me come back to Noah. I mean, we've talked about this is a CBDC event at the conference. And we've said, yes, it's important to the future of fintech. Just 1 minute, how?
Okay, let me try and compress the subject of PhD thesis into 1 minute. It's important to understand the history of money. How did we get here? If we look at that from limestone and salt to cowrie shells to precious stones, to paper money, to plastic money, and to what we are, digital money. These evolutions of money have been driven by the need for trade. The speed of trade has increased. With the explosion of the internet, the speed of trade is in milliseconds right now. And for the longest time, we have not had a corresponding monetary system that can move at the speed at which we trade. We come up with placebos or patches to our very old traditional way of doing money, just in order to catch up, but then now it has reached critical point and it can no longer serve the purposes that we need it. And as more and more digital services, as more and more devices get online, the speed of money is going to be put at pressure. And so that's why digital money is the future. We are seeing the explosion of crypto, but now that is going to be, as we are seeing, the governments and banks are being pushed against the wall to respond with a similar, technology to serve their, their purposes. Every country needs a sovereign currency, and so that's the act of the CBDCs, and that's why they are participating. And if you look at the CBDCs, that's one word that covers, many applications as supervisory roles. But that is the main driver. The main driver is that traditional money has to change, and CBDCs is the best way for governments.
Thank you, Noah. So, Victor, there's a question here that says, can we, African countries likely to adopt a crypto stable currency to overcome shortage of foreign currencies in international trade? I mean, we're talking about the African Free Trade Agreement. Will this be a solution? Hello, Victor, did you get the question?
Oh, yes. I got the question. So I think the answer to that definitely is yes. We have a problem when it comes to our trade finance, which is African countries are not generating enough forex at the moment. Case in point in Zimbabwe, for example, where you have this trade deficit. So what ends up happening is you then have shortage of forex for you to import critical raw materials, etc. However, this problem has been there due to the fact that we haven't really reformed our monetary system with the advent of things like tokenization, with the advent of things like CBDCs. What you're actually going to see at the end of the day is African countries can leverage their own raw materials, they can leverage their resources in order to raise more forex by purely buying the CBDCs or the digital currencies, because if we're able to leverage the value that we actually have internally, we might be able to actually create a market where the generation of forex in order to make international payments isn't as difficult. The AFCFTA provides a very good starting point. What's necessary is to actually create that sandbox such that African countries promote intra-African trade using these stable coins, using these digital currencies. So the answer to that is definitely yes, it's inevitable for that to happen.
All right, thank you. So Modibe, somebody is asking about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is still a major issue, especially with new payment systems coming up this period. How are regulators working to protect the users? I think it's not even just regulators, our operators also going to protect themselves, because if there's a fraud, regulators will come after you. So Modibe, what's the issue of cybersecurity? What are you as operators doing before we even come to regulators?
Well, that is unfortunately the case with every new technology. So if you look back in time, every technology that has ever been used or gotten adopted, it has presented a lot of challenges. So in this case, we're looking at cybersecurity, money laundering, terrorism financing and the likes. So it's a matter of organizations working together, collaborating. So in a case of cyber security, obviously, the first thing is personal education. If you're gonna put your money in anything, you need to understand how it works and how you preserve yourself in that regard. And platforms have to take the responsibility seriously. We've seen some people get hacked, funds stolen and the likes. But also talking of regulators, I know that in Nigeria, the regulators have taken a bold step around regulation of cryptocurrency, and it seems like many other countries are going to be doing the same. And I believe that this is not done to limit or halt innovation, but rather to protect the citizens from things which are not properly understood by everyone, such as cryptocurrency. So it's not a bad thing to regulate, but we must not limit innovation. So I think regulators have to play their part. They are the regulators, and then platforms have to take responsibility as well and extend education to those who are using the platforms. And then individuals have to be super responsible when it comes to where they put their money.
Yeah, thank you, Modibe. I mean, the issue of cybersecurity is a very critical one, and both operators and regulators need to work together to ensure that we can deal with that. Because as new technologies come up, the criminals also come up with new technologies to break into it. So it's a problem we'll live with, but it's a problem that can be dealt with if there is cooperation or collaboration between the operators and the regulators. So our time is up. So everybody just go around. 10 seconds to just say your last comments. Murieda?
I think this is an exciting time we're living in. There's huge opportunity for Africa within the fintech space to showcase to the world how we as a continent actually become one, using digital technologies to create that vision of becoming one. I think for the very first time, Africa has an opportunity to work as a collective. And we really want to, especially with the African Free Trade Agreement coming up, we really want to leverage that, including digital technologies, to transform the continent and for the world to see that Africa can do it, for Africa to actually take the lead. Because right now there is really nothing stopping us from taking the lead in this global economy.
Thank you, Murieda. Afua?
I think
Okay.
Africa is on.
Sorry, Afua, hold on. I've just been told that we can take 5 minutes, but there's a question for you, Afua. It says that you've spoken about voidness of regulation to deal with given situations. In light of this, do you think regulation should precede innovation or vice versa?
Well, that's an interesting one. I don't think regulation will be able to precede innovation at any given point in time, because innovation is very fluid. We keep moving ahead. So the regulation should be broad enough to capture innovation as we go forward. So that's how I would see it. And as the regulator goes ahead with broad legislation, they can always come up with policies. In Ghana, the central bank does that a lot. As issues come up, they come up with new policy directives to deal with the situation. So I think that's how we should go about it.
Okay, thank you. I mean, what we've done in Nigeria is last month, the association set up a forum called the Regulator Forum, which has regulators and innovators that we can sit together and talk about the ecosystem. There's no doubt that innovation is always ahead of regulation, but we can bridge the gap. And I think that if that happens, we can help to reduce this problem. But innovation is always ahead of regulation. There's no doubt about that. So now your closing comments. 10 seconds.
Yes, I believe that Africa has a unique opportunity right now. The entire world is at the starting line, especially with these new technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. We have the advantage of capacity. We don't have legacy baggage, and we have an exploding population. These are ingredients, if well put to use, will make Africa a global powerhouse, but we have to work together. In the next 30 years, 1 in every 4 people on the planet is going to be African. So if you're big in Africa, you're going to be big in the world. And so we only can start preparing now to harness that opportunity. And if we don't, we will get into a new age of slavery, where we were enslaved because of our physical strength. Now we'll be enslaved because of our mind and our numbers. So it's a double-edged sword. If we don't take advantage of that opportunity, there's going to be new digital slavery. So the onus is on us to respond quickly.
Thank you, Noah. Victor?
Definitely. So we need more entrepreneurs. We need more practical solutions in Africa. It's great to converse about it. It's great to share our minds on the way forward. But at the end of the day, We need to actually do the work, build these solutions, and not be afraid to export them to other nations as well. We've been net importers for a long time, but now we have an opportunity to actually go out to other continents with our solutions and demonstrate that they're feasible and they work.
Thank you. Modibe?
Shortly, things are just getting started, especially in Africa. To my fellow young people, let us learn and empower our communities and be able to take part in this revolution. Most importantly, let us understand how money works and how we can play our part in acquiring it and thereby using it to build our communities. Best of luck to everyone. Let's continue the conversation online. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Murieta. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Modibe. Thank you, Afua. I mean, if I just summarize, we say there is a future for fintech ecosystem in Africa. We must all work together to make it happen. This is a time for Africa to really take the lead. I mean, technology is there, and we have the brains, we have the people, and once there's a solution, there is a market. So I think the future can only be better. So thank you very much for being part of this panel. It's my pleasure to work with all of you. And I'd like Modibe said, we'll take this offline after this. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ashley. Back to you.